the Rangers Journal now.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Rangers Journal. I'm your host Scott Mackay and I'm delighted to be joined by my good pal Scoldy today. We're on to talk about Henrik Rydstrom and how he's doing in Malmo and potential job prospects, etc. He is one of the names on the bookies list for the Rangers job, so thought we'd better find out a wee bit more about him. Scoldy, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Aye, not bad at all. Thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Second time on now.
Yep, I know. For anybody that doesn't remember, Scoldy came on previously about the Malmo preview, wasn't it?
Yep,
Before the
exactly.
game, at the beginning of the season. So, just a quick overview on Henrik Rydstrom. How long's he been Malmo manager for, and what's he achieved?
So he's going into his third season now.
Right.
So what he has achieved is that he's won the title 2 years in a row. Hopefully we'll have him for winning a third, and he also has one cup title from last year that we won versus Djurgården, and also this year win the final of the cup. So he can do a back-to-back. While in Europe, it's been a little bit different from what we're used to. Normally, we've been playing like more of a defensive kind of style, like 3-5-2 in Europe. But this year, we decided to change it around and go for more like being a productive team, trying to hold possession and being more like the dominant team in Europe, which is not giving the best results this year, but looks promising for the future.
I think I remember what you were saying to Ross on the Malmo preview was Rydstrom likes his players to be kind of close together on the park and off the park. Is that something that kind of makes his management style stand out? What makes him different?
So he's not as the other coaches. He's running by a new kind of principle that is called relativism. I think it's called. Basically, the whole idea of the concept is that you should have like a good relation to your closest teammates. So everything builds on how well you know your teammates and how good you play together from there on. So it doesn't mean that you are the best football players if you have the best relations. So that basically is that he can put four players together on a very tight space and they will solve the issue because they know exactly the patterns of how they're going to move, which is quite interesting.
What kind of is his style of play in formation in general? What is his tactics?
So he normally right now he's playing a 4-2-3-1. Normally it has two sitting midfielders, but sometimes he spices it up, going with, for example, with two strikers. Kind of the issue this season we've had is that our strikers are not really performing, even if they're playing together or if they're playing as a lone striker. So right now we have been very dependent on the midfielders because this year we have an incredibly stacked team compared to last year, where we had for example, Sebastian Anasi, who was the kind of key player. He made such like the amount of assist and goal he made for that team in the spring season before he now got sold to Strasbourg in France. So he made like an impact there, just being the kind of key player for Rydstrom's philosophy there.
All right, okay, that's quite interesting. Does Rydstrom like to play possession football? Does he like to play fast counter attacking? Like, what's his style of play like?
I would say the main kind of thing is like position. So he likes to hold the ball. Of course, the team he is in charge of should be the controlling team with possession, and that's kind of the issue as well this season is that sometimes if the ball is moved too slow, it's hard to break down these kind of defenses that stands like really far down, and that's kind of the issue we're seeing this year coming into the third season, that most people or most teams know how Richard wants to play, and it's up to the players to solve these kind of puzzles basically, and if they don't do that, then of course the idea is really hard because then he likes to basically run the ball down, and then eventually when you get to the last thirds they're going to be let loose and do whatever they want basically. So the principle is that right now we're very left driven, so a lot of the attacks go down that we overload the left side, and then eventually we have one or two players on the other side, and then the ball barely gets moved over to that side because they're expected to solve the issue playing down on the left side and just getting through there.
Does he like to play the ball out from the back, from the goalkeeper to the centre backs, and then
Yep.
distribute it from there? Yeah.
So everything is basically like your standard kind of top team in any league you want. They decide to play it out and making sure that we hold the possession. One issue we saw now lately versus the not this last game, but the game before that, we played AIK away. We had some issues because the players were not really, let's say, they were not really there in mental fashion. So AIK played with a high pressure play, and what happened was that AIK eventually managed to break down Malmo and pressure them to close with the long balls. So that was kind of interesting to see. So if you want to see the kind of struggles that happens with Richmond's philosophy, you can watch that game because it's very common that if the players are not actively moving the ball at a higher pace, you will kind of get stuck in the back four.
Is that down to the players he's got, or is it or is it his instructions? Do you think? Do you think that the the slow style of play, we at Rangers have seen it for years now, and it's something that frustrates the fan base is playing the ball out from the back and then kind of like a horseshoe style of football where the ball's just getting pinged across the back line constantly, and not breaking lines or going forward. Is that something he tries to encourage? Is forward passes?
Of course, yep. That's of course the whole idea that you want to kind of bait the opponents to give to pressure high, and then eventually you're gonna beat them. But the issue is there also if you don't have the players doing the job for you, like they're running. Before we had a player called Sergio Pena. He was kind of known for
Yeah,
being a South American. He is kind of known for this kind of a little more dangerous style. So
yeah,
if you play the ball to him, he might untie the knots. While now we have more kind of like a standard players, which are not the same kind of, what should I say, not a liability, but a kind of way that you get if you play the ball to this guy, he might do something unexpected, or he might do the things that a lot of players don't dare to do at this kind of level, maybe because he was so good.
yeah, yeah. What would you say is Rydstrom's kind of strengths? Is he a good man manager? Is he is he able to change tactics to try and win games? Is he a winner? What would you say is his strengths?
He's a very kind of passionate guy.
Right.
You can feel like he breathes football. Like he just even gives the players homeworks because he wants to make sure that they understand what he wants to achieve and what he wants to get his message out. So that's the kind of his strength that he's a very passionate and he knows exactly what he wants and he will go anywhere to do so and basically just give them everything they need to be able to achieve his football. And if you do that and they follow his instruction, of course it's going to be successful. And that's of course what we've seen the past 2 seasons, and hopefully we're going to see it in a third as well because we've just recently got started. And a lot of Malmo fans are very spoiled because of the past year's success. So as soon as we're not winning every game 5-0, people start complaining, which is yeah, you know how it is probably as a Rangers fan.
Oh, definitely, definitely. We've not had that problem this season, right enough. We've been absolutely rotten when it comes to playing football. Um, what's he like on the touchline? Is he animated? Is he quite reserved?
No, he's very passionate. You're gonna see a lot of comments. He is very known in Sweden for bringing some headlines because of the things he says and does. And he's like a very hothead, as you call it, perhaps in in English. And he's not afraid to shout and such. But sometimes I can feel that the lack of match management from his side is that sometimes the substitutions come too late, or he
Right.
believes too much in his philosophy that he eventually believes he's gonna succeed, that he doesn't change it. So I kind of think that's something he needs to work on from my side, at least. Watching the games that he might be able to, or he should be able to do something different sometimes, and spice things up rather than just thinking that the philosophy is going to work nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. Has he um has he had any job offers whilst at Malmo? Is he a kind of still a sought after name around
I
Europe?
think last year he was because of his results in Malmo. Of course, they're always going to be when you win the title 2 years in a row. Everybody's going to be hunting for him. But lastly, I checked. There was some rumors about Swansea actually.
Right. Okay.
Same goes for the other Swedish manager Kim Hallberg. So him and Rydstrom are probably on the board for the over the British Isles there.
Right. Okay. 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 Um, how attached is he to Malmo fans? Do Malmo fans want him to go? Is he, or do they see him as an icon, somebody that has to stay? Like,
I wouldn't say we don't see him as an icon, but we see him as an incredibly great manager, and of course we don't want him to go. that's the kind of the issue we've had the past couple of seasons is that we win the title, goes 2 seasons, and then the manager gets an offer from a bigger club.
Yeah,
Now lately we saw it before Rydstrom. We had John Dahl Tomasson,
yeah,
who
yeah.
left for Blackburn, and now he's at the Swedish national team. Before that, we had, let me just think, 2019. I believe it was Uwe Rössler, and he got
Ah,
fired, I
right,
believe. So yeah,
right.
so we've had some couple manager now. Just gotta make sure I think it in the right, and then yeah, because he was there 2019, he left 2020. We had Jonah Thomason, and then 2022 or 23, we had Rydstrom coming in. So
Um,
we have big kind of changes on the manager but that's kind of the like ecosystem of football.
yeah, yeah. I was just trying to think who was in charge when you beat Rangers because it used to be a thing. It used to be a thing where I think you put us out of the Champions League when Ali McCoist was in charge, and then obviously the time under Steven Gerrard as well.
Yep, I think because that was John Dal Thomason exactly, and then of course in when we knocked you out in 2011 when we had that, then there we had Rikard Norling as a manager.
Right. Okay.
So we've had some different managers when we played you guys.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, see if the time was to come and Rydstrom was to leave, do you think he would succeed abroad?
I think so, yeah. As long as he gets to bring his staff, he has an assistant coach that he believes very highly in, I believe, because he brought him to Sirius, and then he brought him from there as well to Malmo. So I believe he has a kind of like a partnership with these two. These two have like a great partnership. So I believe he will bring him on if he decides to leave.
Mhm.
But the kind of issue is that I don't see him leaving before this season. I believe I think he wants to do Europe before he leaves
Right.
one more time, and then perhaps if we win the league again, he might leave next season. Because from what I've understood, before he signed for Malmo, he was at Kalmar, did great results there, but then he had a daughter, and he refused to leave before she had been old enough to basically go out of school or whatever.
Yeah.
That at least was the rumor said. So, but I don't know how much true it is, but that's what was said basically.
See, in terms of set pieces, Rangers haven't been great at them this season. There was when Philippe Clement was in charge, he said that he wanted to take charge of set pieces because he enjoyed it. And we couldn't score them, we couldn't defend from corners. His Does Rydstrom set his team up well in those situations defensively and attacking?
I would say defensively we don't. We actually conceded a corner now directly, but that was because our striker decided to dodge the ball, and then that
Right.
was the reason why we drew the last game because they didn't have any. Or
Yeah.
yeah, but the main reason was last year we were really good at corners. Then we had Pontus Jansson and Derek Cornelius,
Mhm.
and Derek Cornelius he left last summer for Marseille. So when he left, we basically went down from the corners. So I, it's his assistant manager who does the corners. I believe also, if I'm not completely mistaken, the assistant manager who took charge in the set pieces, he's now the head coach for another Swedish club. So
Right.
now I'm quite curious to remember who the set piece coach is.
Yeah. So do you think there is a set piece coach within his backroom staff then? Yeah.
Yeah, he has somebody who does it for him. I'm not sure if it's the new Spaniard that they brought in,
Right.
but he has somebody else doing that for him, and I cannot see. We haven't conceded too many corners, but we haven't scored too many corners either. So we have kind of been working on that too much. Set pieces this year has not been great at from what I see.
Yeah. What would you say is his biggest weaknesses as a manager?
Ooh, I think as I said the previous list with his match coaching, I think that can greatly improve in that sense.
Right.
That he can become more like keen on changing his philosophy. That it's not basically straight to like, okay, I need to do this because this is what I believe in, and then maybe it's like, oh, I have a plan B even.
Yeah.
But that's also the kind of coaches thing. Sometimes you don't want to have a plan B. You believe so much in your plan A that there is no plan B. So I would say that's probably one of the weaker sides is that is match coaching.
Right.
Other than that, I think the kind of issue what I realize now is that we don't really have any strikers performing. I'm not sure if it's our strikers. They last spring they did, but then after that we haven't seen them score and assist too much like they did because then they were having great fun. So I think that's kind of like a little issue is that it's very midfield based. so that the three offensive midfielders are the ones supposed to do it, and then maybe the striker gets a little bit isolated, unfortunately.
Right. Okay. Okay. Does he like does he like his wingers playing high and wide, or does he like them inverting, or what about
They move everywhere.
they move everywhere?
Yeah, so basically, like we had Sebastian Anasi, he could move over to the side and play together with our other winger. Right now, we have kind of Hugo Bolin, which is our new Sebastian Anasi, is what we call, or what we believe. So sometimes our other winger Tahali comes over, and then they two play together on the wing rather than having somebody on the right side, and then we just push up the right back, for example. So they are very versatile in how they move across the field. So there's no kind of set position for the offensive trio or quadro or whatever should I call them.
Yeah. Yeah. Does he like using a press? Does he use a press when the oppositions get the ball?
Most likely, yes, but this year has also been like kind of lacking that we haven't been pressuring as high as we usually do.
Right.
So we have been a little bit reserved, which is I'm not sure if he's changing something to his philosophy or if he's what's going on, but it doesn't really look like the same as previous years. So I think it's a little bit more reserved this year. But hopefully we'll get back to the kind of winning ways. And I'm not sure if it's kind of a confidence thing or what's going on. But of course, it's not been a bad start for us. 8 points after having these kind of difficult away games and opponents. We should have had 10 points because we should have won the last home game. But hey, we cannot be too negative about it.
Oh, that's fine, mate. Well, thank you for coming on. I was able to give us a bit into the man himself and what he's like, the training tactics, etc. So I hope he's have a good season and everything works out, and he's got another couple of trophies in the trophy cabinet.
We cross our fingers. That's what we hope. So that we get him to win the cup final now, the 29th of May. First of all, that's the prior one.
Oh, fair enough. Well, thanks for coming on, Skoldy.
Thanks for having me as always.
No problem, no problem. Right, guys, that's us for this episode, concluding Henrik Rydstrom in the Manager series. We'll see you again soon.